Welcome again to... Sorry. Hey, everyone. We are grateful for you to be joining us again on another episode of the Raising Disciples Together podcast. It's our Cornerstone West LA Children's Ministries attempt to bring to you guys an in-depth and different... no, sorry.
You're good.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Raising Disciples Together podcast. We are excited to have you guys here today listening with us as we explore how God is using the people in our church at Cornerstone West LA to disciple their kids and to hear from their stories and their experiences on what God is teaching them through this season and journey of parenting. Today, we are welcoming Steph Tokos.
Hi, everyone.
And Martijn Doleman.
Hello.
And Allison and I are going to be just asking them some questions about what being a parent looks like to an infant.
Yeah, we're excited for this topic. We had a little bit of a baby boom last year, and it's looking like we're headed towards another baby boom for 2026. And so this is one of the more, I would say, unique phases of discipleship because they're babies. They're not communicating with you. You're not really sure what they're understanding verbally. This is a season for modeling the gospel. And I'm sure you'll fill in much more than just that word as you guys share. We're excited to hear from the two of you. As Jeremy said, we have Steph Tokos. We're excited to have you on. You are almost out of the infant phase with number 2. Mm-hmm. We're excited to hear about that. We also know that you had a really unique and challenging pregnancy.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of grouping pregnancy and infant together. So I think that people will be encouraged to hear about the way that you walked through that process and trusted God through pregnancy into the early infant phase. And Martijn, you are a first-time father. Close to the end of the infant phase, still kind of in the trenches.
Yeah.
And so we're excited to hear your perspective as a first-time father because we know that's also really unique, and I know that people will be encouraged to hear from you as well. So,
yeah, if you guys wouldn't mind in just starting by sharing a little bit about who you guys are, what your family dynamics look like, and just sharing where you're at now. Steph, why don't you go first? By the way, Steph is a champ. This is how much she cares about discipling children. She's missing her beloved 49ers playoff game right now to be here to share the depths of wisdom that God has given her.
This will be old news by the time it airs.
Yeah,
That's
hopefully
true,
the
so
Niners are out by this time.
people can either rejoice or lament with me. That's okay. They'll be fine. My name is Stephanie Tokos. I have 2 little ones, Mati, who is almost 3 in April, which is crazy to believe, and Santi, which is just as equally as crazy, will be 1 next month. And it's me and Jason, who's working full-time, and me working part-time. So we're at home a lot, playing games. Watching Paw Patrol has been a fun new venture. I'm just watching boys grow up and play together.
Yeah, Steph is being a little modest here. She's a full-time stay-at-home mom, working mom of 2 boys.
Yeah. So it's been fun to see them grow and just bringing them along to work when that's feasible, and college students really enjoy having babies around and always offered to play and hang out, and so it's been easy to do so far, so we'll see.
What a blessing.
Yeah, and so Jen and I have a little boy as well. His name's Noah, and he's 8 months old, and we are both working, and so we've had to leave Noah at daycare, which is a tough thing to do for sure, and I'm sure we'll be able to talk about that more later. But we are both working, and we are now about almost 7 years married, and so it's really great to have this new chapter in our lives with Noah.
That's awesome. Mati, Steph's oldest, loves playing catch. I feel like every time I see him, if he has a ball, he likes to throw it to me, and I always drop it. And then Noah, Martin, your son, I feel like I've never seen a baby smile as much as
happiest
Noah.
looking little guy. Maybe you'll fill in more of those details for us, but he looks happy at church.
Yeah, what's your trick? I'm just kidding. But yeah, why don't we start by kind of going back to the beginning of the start of your guys' families. If you guys wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about how that came about, how did you feel being a first-time parent, finding out that you're pregnant, and just some of the journey of what it was like to just to experience pregnancy.
Yeah, I could start. I would say my first reaction was panic. I had definitely been excited about it as much as we were married for 6 years up until that point, and very excited about it. But my first reaction when we found out, okay, this is real, it was a little bit worried and anxious and wondering what to do. And I remember during those first few months, especially, just hearing that phrase from people that would give us some advice, say, you have these 9 months for a reason. God gives us these 9 months to prepare for the baby. And that phrase really struck with me throughout that time. And so I could see just with every little thing that would come up, every question, every issue, every worry, we could always see that God was right there, helping us along the way, guiding us, putting people in our lives to help us. And so it was just a wonderful time of preparation for the baby.
That's really cool how you described it. Started with fear and worry and panic, but how God molded and shaped that time for you to prepare and hopefully we'll get more into that, but that's a really cool transition that God did in your life. So, Steph, what about you?
I feel like we probably had the fear and panic for quite a while, most of the pregnancy. For those of you who don't know, Santi's journey into this world was pretty hectic. Around 20 weeks, I found out that he was getting ready to make an exit. So we were at our 20-week appointment, and I was already 2 centimeters dilated. The doctor is like, you don't need to run to the hospital, but you definitely need to get there as soon as possible. And it just kickstarted this journey of rallying every prayer that we could get, being on couch rest, and praying for this little life that was growing inside of me to make it just another day and just another week. And so thankfully the Lord has him here, and he made it to 39 weeks. So that was a completely different preparation, I think, than with Mati, who we were still anxious about and still nervous, but definitely was more of a waiting game and just being rooted in prayer and trying not to let our fears and worries win in those moments.
How did you navigate that? What was your walk with God like in that season as you were trying not to let the fears overtake you?
It was a lot of crying. A lot of crying, a lot of talking with friends and with the Lord, just in prayer. Like, I love this little boy already. You guys wanted me to cry?
Sorry.
No, that's okay. A lot of just, I think June, maybe that day before we went to the hospital, we found out on a Wednesday, and then Friday we're at the hospital getting surgery to try to perform life-saving measures for him. But June had messaged us Psalm 86. There's like one specific verse, I don't even remember which one June had sent. It was like, hey, this has been really encouraging for me this morning as I've been praying for you. And I was like, I need something. I need to spend some time in the Word. And I read the whole chapter. And towards the end, Psalm 86:16, it says, turn to me and be gracious to me. Give your strength to your servant and save the son of your maidservant. And I just cried even more. And just thinking, Lord, like, this is a prayer. Like, this, it's in the Bible. It's scriptural that you would save the son of your maidservant. And as it happened, I was having a boy, so it just fit even more. It wasn't a stretch. And so praying that over and over through the pregnancy, through the surgery that I was having, and just other verses that I like had already memorized at times, just like sitting there was kind of hard to reach and grab the Bible. So relying a lot on that.
I appreciate that. I mean, both of you shared that fears were a huge part of the like expecting process. And I kind of think before you're in that position, I think you often think more towards like, oh, a baby, like this is going to be so exciting. And yet I think for a lot of people, there's a lot of really challenging emotional work that happens in pregnancy. And like you're saying, Martijn, it's God's kindness that there's a runway to prepare us. And I think God is kind in that. If there's, you kind of spoke a little bit to fears. I'm curious, what also like hopes you guys experienced in pregnancy. Steph, maybe for your second pregnancy, that was really hard to find. Can look in a lot of different ways. But yeah, I'd be curious to hear if you also had hopes that you were kind of centering yourself on.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that for us, we're trying to keep it simple. Can our baby be healthy and happy? And can we have the time to spend with him to really grow up as a family, to get to know him? And that's definitely not simple, just with work and other things going on in life. We didn't know how that would even go. We were too focused on the pregnancy itself during the pregnancy to really think what's going to happen beyond this. And so we just left that up to God and said, we'll see that when it comes. But yeah, I think we're really hoping that God would give us the peace of mind, I guess, to really be present with Noah as he's growing up in those first couple of years. And so, as far as how that's been so far, I would say it's just gone above and beyond what we could have hoped for. It's, Jeremy, you were saying earlier about how Noah's always smiling and happy, and that's really no cause, we have no hand in that ourselves. That's just pure grace upon grace, because, it could be a horrible night. He may not have slept that much at all, waking up every hour or so, but then for some reason he wakes up at 7 or so, and he's a happy guy. He's a happy guy.
That's amazing.
It's a new day. So yeah, that's just been a huge grace for us, that throughout all those times that God is with us and carrying us along.
That's great. What about you, Steph?
I think for me, it was a lot of just knowing and having already seen the goodness of God in Mati and his pregnancy. I had, I think, what would have been 2021, had a miscarriage. And so I think all of my pregnancies having just fear to work through and trust in the Lord. And so to have seen Mati was here, Mati was healthy. He has been developing as he should have been, was a good little chunk of a boy. And to trust that God was seeing us in our hurt and was seeing us, all of the tears and all of the hard news that we would get from the doctors, just one thing after another, it seemed like, as we were going to appointments, to remember that God was good and that he was being gracious to us and giving us more time as the time went on. Trying to remember that and remember that he was protecting Santi more in so many more ways than we could in that moment was helpful.
I love that you guys both mentioned God's good grace upon your families in both the joyous times and the hard times, in the lament, in the joy of having Noah wake up in the morning with a smile, and in the hardships of dealing with uncertainty during pregnancy, and it's just it's interesting how no matter what topic is talked about here or on the pastor's podcast, or it always comes back to grace, his God's grace and the gospel that saves us and motivates us. I have a bit of a practicality question. Ooh. I don't even know if practicality is a word, but we talked about fears and hopes. I'm curious if you guys had expectations about what having an infant was going to look like for your everyday life, and if those expectations have been met, have they fallen short? Were you completely way off base with
left field? Yeah, like never imagined.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious just about your expectations about practical living with a new person in your home, what that looked like, how it was different than what you were expecting, and just your experiences with that.
Yeah. I think we had good examples of families that just, like, you have kids and you are bringing your kids along to like the ministry that you're doing, to your everyday life, and it's not a hindrance per se, but more how do you help them see, even though they're infants, help them see the gospel. And so that was helpful, and yet in the practicalities of how often what they do and how often they change was the interesting part. And I remember thinking, specifically for Matthew when he was an infant, around the 3-4 month stage when the sleeping changes, like, why are you only sleeping for 20 minutes? Like, your lack of sleep is interrupting, like, the workflow is interrupting, like, how do I entertain you? How do I, like, pay attention to you, but also do the things that I need to be doing? And so the change every couple of months definitely keeps you on your toes and makes you have to be good at adjusting, even if that's not your favorite.
That is one of the unique hardships of the infant phase, is like once you get used to it, you're on to something new. It's gone. Yeah. you can't quite like grasp on to like a season.
Yeah. You're never mastering anything.
Yeah, I was giving some hard nods there. Totally agree with that one. One other thing as far as practicalities go, I think it's a word.
We'll go with it.
I think so.
I would say I heard a lot of people say stuff like, "Oh, you'll learn how the baby's crying and what they need, and that will kind of help guide you." And I, to this day, have not learned what Noah's different cries are, and I hope one day I will learn, but we'll see. But I think that has been just like, all right, what am I looking for here? Yeah. Just like trying all these little things, and at one point, I'll find the right one. But
like we said a minute ago, you'll figure it out right as he learns to speak and tell you what he wants. Yeah. Kind of related to that. This is like I feel like a fun topic, but I just want to it's the nurses have released you from the hospital. They've said, take this newborn, and now you are the sole responsible parent. What was the first night home like with your newborns, as your firstborn specifically? As much as you remember. Yeah, were you like, what on earth?
Yeah. And maybe this wasn't exactly the first night, but I remember maybe sometime in that first week, I reached out to a mom who I knew worked specifically with like NICU ER, and I'm like, he is not sleeping, he's breathing very funny, and I don't know what to do. And so it's a little bit of a panic just trying to figure out, like, are they safe? Are they okay? I'm really tired and Jason's really tired, and we both just want a little bit of sleep. And so there's definitely a lot of panic in starting the, like, okay, like, this is why pregnancy, you need to trust God and, like, prepare for these moments of, I don't know what I'm doing, and we're just gonna learn rapid fire.
Yeah, it was a little unique for our case. I would say when we actually did get home, it was just a feeling of sweet relief. It turns out, so during the pregnancy, we found out that Jen had preeclampsia, which means she had high blood pressure. And so we had the NICU unit come in, and thankfully the pregnancy itself went by quickly, and the delivery itself went by quickly, and she was okay, but they had to stay at the hospital for about 6 days afterwards. And so I think by the time that we were done, we were like, okay, let's go home and have some peace. But I will say, during that time at the hospital, they would come check up on us, and they had a heartbeat monitor on Noah for a while. But when they took it off, I will say there was plenty of moments where I was like, shouldn't somebody could be coming in?
Do we need that back on?
Yeah. Right, so I would like come over to the baby and, like, okay, he's still breathing, we're good, and then just falling asleep on the couch out of exhaustion more than wanting to. And so definitely a lot of worries those first few days.
I feel like there's this overwhelming sense of, I have a new life that I am in charge of. And am I doing something? Am I doing everything right? Did I not do something that I was supposed to do? And I do think there's a bit of a learning curve and a hump that every parent has to battle through and get over at some point to know that you're doing all right. Like, things are going to be okay, and God's got this. And again, His grace is not just on the child, but on us as parents. But I kind of want to shift gears a little bit and ask you guys about your relationships with the Lord. How has that changed, if it has at all, since becoming a parent, since adding a new person into your home that you have responsibility over? How has that changed your relationship with God, if at all?
Yeah, I can give you a in-between answer and say yes and no. In some real ways, I think my relationship with God has changed a lot. I've grown in my knowledge and awareness of my need for Him in the everyday activities that happen and the big questions that come up. I've also seen in very real ways how He's answered those questions, and so that's been very rewarding. But at the same time, even within the first few weeks, I noticed myself thinking, oh, well, now I have some time by myself. What do I want to do? And quickly going back into that, into my selfish desires, and, just realizing, I can easily try to rationalize myself by saying, like, oh, yeah, I've really taken care of him so long, and now I just need some time alone.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not what Noah thinks, and he'll start crying, and then I start getting a little bit antsy. And so I could see how I still was far from being reliant on God in those moments.
I agree with what Martijn. Yeah, it's interesting because I think it is a yes and no, in that, especially coming home with Santi, I was home with people for 4 months. My mom was with us, and Jason had certain days that he was able to work from home when it was, like, really necessary. And then to be home alone with the baby and a toddler, it was just interesting to have, like, all of this time where I was with people, but then I wasn't with people who were talking to me, to have to, like, be able to talk with them about God, but then also, like, how do I carve time to spend with Jesus in this moment when it feels like I'm attending to one and then attending to the other, and their naps didn't overlap. Why? I don't know.
That would be too easy.
That would be so easy, especially in the newborn days. And so to have to figure out, like, how do I rely on, really, I was told in college, memorize scripture now, because it's only going to help you later when you have your hands full and you can't do this. But so to have to sit there sometimes when I'm nursing and I'm like really trying to not fall asleep, to say scripture back to myself, or to think about like what are the deep rooted truths about God that I know that are helping me turn to him in a moment where I'm stressed or really tired. And so I think it has grown in that way, and definitely my experiences have only pushed me to know that I need to rely on God more. And it's still hard to sometimes carve that time to look to him.
Yeah, I think those are both very insightful thoughts. In addition to your personal relationships with the Lord, I feel that I hear a lot from new parents that they find a hard time balancing being a parent in that crazy season of infancy with community. Mm-hmm. I feel that people struggle to find a good balance of what it means to still be an active part of the body of Christ, whether that's through serving or fellowship or discipleship, worship, versus or alongside the responsibility of having to take care of an infant. Like that's a huge responsibility. And so I'm curious how you guys have navigated that transition of being able to kind of do whatever you want and like hang out with people and serve and worship freely, to now having a child to take care of, and where the balance of community and your parenting, how you balance that.
I have to say that's something I can't really completely answer at this point, because we are definitely still figuring it out with Noah 8 months along. I think we had a funny moment probably 3 months in where we said, okay, we've got a good rhythm here, and let's try to do normal things again. And little did we know all the hardships that would come, and at the same time, we realized, okay, we can try to be perfect on everything, have the right nap times, just do everything well, and then completely lose out on all of our community. And we realize we have to have some balance, and that will involve, later nap times or some difficult moments, but knowing that would eventually also be good, and that even in those times where we think something might be a problem, that there will be, he'll fall asleep in the car seat after all, and or in the stroller or whatever it might be. And so just trusting in God that, yes, we want to take care of him, but we also want to continue being part of our community and helping people and being with people, that he would have grace for those moments too.
I appreciate that perspective because I feel like maybe it's just my like social media feed is skewed with this, but I feel like you usually hear the extremes, right? Like you have the rigid, like this is the schedule, we are sticking to it, nothing is changing, and we have nobody in our lives. Or we have no schedule, we're totally flexible, totally free, everything is great, nothing bothers me. And it's actually hard, I think, for people to hear that middle ground sort of like, yeah, to have community takes sacrifice. Mm-hmm. And there's a balance. Sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. And you have to, trial and error that a little bit. But that's a part of learning how to raise kids. And I think that actually will tie in as you continue to move forward. I think that will have even like spiritual implications as you move forward.
Yeah. I think just trying to be intentional about it in the moments that you can. I really enjoy our nap schedule. Just because it's
nothing wrong with enjoying the nap schedule.
It's where I get work done, right? Like, especially now, as soon as the boys overlapped in their nap schedule, I felt like, oh my goodness, I now have an hour to an hour and a half of like free time to work, to clean, to make dinner, to do a whole bunch of things.
Because an hour is enough time to work and clean and
to do all the things,
and to do the laundry and
everything except leave your house, because you can't you can't leave the sleeping babies. But I think early on was having a conversation with Jason where he maybe got an email from Jeremy at some point of like, what? Sorry.
Jeremy and his emails.
Jeremy and his emails. But in a great way, I think, because it forced us to have a conversation about when we were going to step back into the rhythms that we completely pulled out of in October, right? Jason took a step back from life group. We both took a step back from serving on the welcome team, and we were still having our discipleship community because people were willing to come to us, and thank you if they're listening. And they were willing to come to us and continue to sit with me while I was sitting on the couch and watch Jason struggle to put Martijn down for bedtime. And so having to have a good conversation, probably like a month or two in, of like, what does it look like for Jason to be more re-engaged into church community and the things that he was doing before couch arrest, we called it. And then for me to slowly start picking that up in the summer when Jason was on paternity leave, to start getting back into those rhythms. And so it was challenging, but the kids are adaptable, and for better or worse, they don't remember all of the stroller naps and carrier naps. And I think they've just come along for the ride, and so that's been helpful to be encouraged by emails and community to continue to be invested in that.
It's interesting that for work we don't have the option, right? Like, you have to, like, there comes a certain point where your maternity or paternity leave is over, and you have to go back to work. I think when it comes to the church body and our role and our function in the church body and what we receive from the church body, that's a choice. Like, we have to be proactive in making that choice to get back into it. Whether and it might be slow, it might be quicker for some, but you mentioned the word rhythm. We have to consciously make an effort to regain and find that rhythm again. That's going to work for your family in that season of life. And it could look different than it did prior to, it probably will look different than prior to pregnancy, but it is important to still figure that out and see what it looks like for your family as you guys move forward, because it is a choice and not something that is mandated like our jobs are.
Yeah. Steph, you mentioned that community, your DC was willing to come to you, and that was really appreciated. I think that this is a season of life where when community steps in for you, it can be really helpful. I'm just curious for both of you, if you have, Steph, more examples, or if Martijn, if you have examples of way that community sought you out in ways that you really appreciated.
I mean, what ways didn't they? I could give you a long list of people who probably don't want me to give you a long list of people who were there for us and taking me to appointments. And I think pretty early on, the next week after I had surgery, Martijn had his like 18-month appointment, and so I was just trying to figure out like who can take us, who can drive, because I can't drive and Martijn needs to be there, and so trying to talk with those who are around us and say like, hey, here are our needs. Steph started a meal train for us, and people brought us meals and sat with me on the couch and prayed and talked, and more food was brought to us postpartum. And so just trying to accept the help. I think sometimes for me that was also hard, but knowing we were in a place where God was opening the floodgates of help and community that was willing to be with us and sacrifice for us in a way that we very much appreciate and needed.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, whether it was our discipleship community group, just being super flexible and wanting to change all the logistics of our meeting just to be able to accommodate us, or if it was just people here and there at church in between services just pulling us aside and asking how are things going and giving us encouragement. Just felt a lot of being poured into during those moments.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's great, guys. Going back, I'm curious. So, Martin, Noah is 8 months old. You've gone through the hopes and the fears of the pregnancy process. You've started to learn how to take care of him, learn his personality. You were a father, like the moment, he came into the world, right? When did you feel like a father? Like, did that come instantly? Were you immediately like, wow, I'm a father? Or was that something that kind of took time for you to learn this like new identity almost?
Right. I think it was definitely more of a gradual thing for me. I think throughout the pregnancy, whatever new thing there would be going on, or whether it was Noah starting to move and kick, I always felt a little bit outside of that. And even for the longest time, I couldn't really feel him kick. And so I was like, I'm missing something. Or if they were at the doctors was talking to Jin or the nurses, and
you're kind of just the accessory in the process.
Yes, exactly. Like, all right, I guess I can just imagine and just be here for support. And so even when Noah came and we were we were very real parents at that point, I still felt like more of a caretaker versus an actual father. And I decided that I would just help in any way that I could. I didn't mind the dirty stuff. I didn't mind learning the small things. And so I think in those small ways, helping out with, I became a very good swaddler. I don't want to brag. But,
maybe we could have like some swaddle contests for like the new fathers.
Oh, for sure.
God's activity.
So, it was a great way for me to kind of spend time with Noah and just be with him and get comfortable holding him. And I mentioned this week in the hospital, I was so thankful for the nurses. I would just ask them a bunch of questions, and they were more than willing to help. And so it was very helpful in those moments to have those practical ways to help. And and I would say gradually felt closer and closer, and got to know Noah better.
Yeah.
What you guys mentioned both earlier how discipleship for your babies looks a lot like modeling the gospel right now. Are there other ways that you have found that have been helpful for you to know what discipleship looks like for this particular stage of your child's life?
The attention span isn't there for either one of my kids. One of them is a little bit better about the responding, and one is better about sitting there and not interrupting you. But really, I think for both of them, singing songs has been the key way that's been more like sharing the gospel with them and talking about how big our God is has come more through singing songs. In this season, we do have the storybook Bible is great, except 4 pages is pretty long for the toddler. And so we have another one, a smaller one in Spanish that's just like single pages. And so that's been really helpful to just read to both of them and start talking about it and what they will hopefully pick up later on, right? But I think for the most part, the songs have been a sweet spot for our family.
Yeah, for us, we have really enjoyed taking Noah's perspective in daily activities. And so what I like to do is just go out in our neighborhood and go for a small walk. And I had no idea all the things that were in our neighborhood until I saw it with Noah. And so in just these small ways to notice God's creation in new ways. Even this morning we were out and we were just looking at some flowers, and then there was a hummingbird that came and some bees, and just saw all of this activity. And probably wasn't smart of me to have Noah around bees, but we didn't stay long. But it was a beautiful little moment. So I think even in those ways, just spending time in God's creation has been a great way to start that journey of discipleship. And yeah.
Yeah, it's never. I feel like it's never too early to. I don't know. Did you guys do the thing where like you play music while the baby's in your belly, or like talk to the babies? Like, did Jason like lean over and talk to your tummy, or did you guys like put headphones?
Sing catechisms?
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he was very involved and was happy with, as the kicking happened, but I think talking to the belly was probably less of a Jason thing. Though he would get excited and just like think about sports stuff and like where are we gonna go with this, but yeah.
Martin, so kind of I feel like part of what you were talking about is like experiencing the wonder of God from like Noah's perspective, which is so cool and so unique. I'm curious for both of you, if parenthood changed the way that you saw God, or changed the way that you feel like God sees you even.
I think there's the new like marvel at different things that you like. This is like so simple that you kind of just don't think about, but then to have like to sit with a toddler or sit with a baby and have to explain like, look at these colors, and be excited about things that just kind of come second nature to you when you get older. Opens more of the just like a novelty and growing love for Jesus and his creation. And so we just try to stop, I think, and see that a little bit more. And I think for me, having to see God and like, yeah, he is excited and we're excited, and these things seem so simple, but God is simple to understand and wants us to see him with that joy. Is helpful for me, just like there is always joy to be found. So yeah, to add on to that a little bit, it is a very big learning experience to see Noah growing up and going through things for the first time. But one thing that I found really funny is just to see in how many ways we're similar. How maybe his biggest need or desire in the world is to just get fed at that moment or something, or to get some sleep, and if he's not able to, then to cry, and that's his world. That's the biggest problem in front of him. And it was a big moment for me to realize, yes, that's often what happens in my life. I don't know what the next phase will bring. Like we wondered for the longest time, can both of us continue working? If we, what if we can't find a daycare? And just being very panicked about that, or maybe not crying, but in our own way, complaining or being worried. And so it was a big moment for us to just see how we're very similar to Noah, just not knowing what the next step is. And so it was comforting to know that God does take care of us as a good father. Yeah.
I'm kind of curious, this is a little off script, but I'm kind of curious how you guys have balanced how do I want to say this? Like, and we can cut this out if need be. But I'm curious how you guys have balanced protecting and caring for your baby, but also like exposing the fact that like they have to be exposed to the world around them, to other people. And I feel like every parent with their firstborn struggles with, oh, how much do I let the baby do this, or do I need to protect the baby, or should I let this person hold my baby? And there's such a strong bond and connection that you have with your child. So I'm curious how you guys have found what works best for you and your child, and the balance of protection and letting go a little bit.
I think we've had some challenges there for sure, where we kind of agreed, okay, for the first 2 months, that was our decision. Like, we shouldn't be around too many people or something. But then we were like, okay, well, we can go back and see people again, but just keep a distance. And then realizing, well, that's not what other people might think. And so just being in those moments and realizing, okay, people will have different ideas of what, and obviously most people know what to do around newborns and whatnot, but still, we definitely had some challenges there. But I think our take has just been to not to control as much. I think we both want to have a measure of control, but to really let go of our own desires and to let other people in on our lives. And I think that's been a big lesson for us that we've needed to learn. And so it's just been very good to see, okay, we can let go and know it's going to be okay, and he's going to be more than okay, and in fact. And so it's been a good lesson.
Yeah, I think for us it took talking up through it a little bit, just Jason and I, and on what we felt comfortable. But for sure, knowing just kind of like also my work environment, being on a college campus, I think that's maybe where we saw it play it into effect a little bit more, where there are students who are going to be really excited to see the babies and to want to hold them and want to walk away to the other side of the room and just like, where did my baby go? And so I think that helped us also relinquish control a little bit, but still for the both of us to know together, like, what is the extent of what we feel comfortable in, like lending our kids or like letting them be out of our sight. And I think we've been pretty flexible to some extent. And then in other ways, just because I feel like I'm always home alone with them, that they've just also still been close to the nest.
Thanks, guys. That's really helpful. As we wrap up, if we could ask you guys to kind of impart one final piece of wisdom for parents, both seasoned parents and soon-to-be parents. If you had to share one thing for people expecting their first baby, what would that be, and why would you feel it is important?
I think for me and us, I talked about this question with Jason a little bit. For a big part of where it just kind of like where I struggle in my, sin nature and performances, it's hard to ask for help. And being put in situations where I have to ask for help or have had asked for help helps once the baby's actually here, because it is a learning curve and it is something that you don't experience until you're in it. And so it's hard to know. And then you throw in each kid is specific, right? And so I think I would say is be gracious to yourself. Be gracious in, like, the Lord is gracious with us, and so receiving that for ourselves, but then others as they learn the things that you are like holding as boundaries, but then also when to ask for help and when to know, like, I am feeling overwhelmed or I don't know how to do this. And other people have been through that, and so being willing to ask for help, and that takes a lot of courage and grace in those moments.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And if I could just add to that, I think totally the same. I don't want to ask other people for help, and it's really up until the point that when I'm like there's an emergency and I need to help, and then I realize the person that I asked is more than willing to help, and so it ends up being a very similar case every time, and so it's always good to be reminded of that. I think what I would just add is actually very similar to that. I would say let other people love you, because I think for me I'm the type of person I want to support, I want to help, and I want to chip in any way that I can, or I want to be even with the person that I'm with. And so if Jin was taking care of the baby for these last 3 nights, then I want to do other things to make up for that. But instead to see she loves me and she's doing this for our family, she's doing this for Noah out of love, and me trying to make up for that is not the right response. And instead I can be grateful and just accept that love. And so, that's been a good lesson for me.
That's awesome.
That's great. Thanks for sharing, guys. I don't know if you have any last minute things that maybe we didn't get to, but we've really appreciated having you guys on, and hearing your perspectives. And like I said, I think a lot of people will be really encouraged, and gonna plug that you guys are available for conversation. I will say, going off script a little bit, I didn't ask you guys this, so if nothing comes to mind, that's okay. But I am curious, as always, just if you have resources that you think would be good to share, just with any kind of parent in the infant stage, anything that like helped pull you through with your like walk with God and learning how to do this. Anything come to mind?
Allison King. Her phone, her phone number. Asked me for it. I think pretty early on, maybe even before Matthew was born, you recommended the blog taking care of babies, and that has just been a lifesaver. When we were in that 3 to 4 month stage, that I really was panicking, just like, I don't understand why you're not sleeping, and I don't know how to entertain you because it's
anything. The middle of the night and you don't need entertainment.
And so that was just helpful. Like, oh, there's this thing that on her blog, it's called the crap nap stage, and it just happens because his sleep is changing. And so to have that as a resource that I can pull up in the middle of the night when we're exhausted and we both want to fall asleep and we're arguing back and forth over who's taking care of the baby, and it was a helpful resource for sure to have that and just have friends to reach out to.
Yeah.
I love books, and it's probably not going to be helpful for a lot of people, but at least at this stage, but The Parenting Book by Paul David Tripp. I think it's very applicable to older kids, maybe not so much the infant stage or pregnancy, but I still found a lot of connections, and it was just a really fun way to start preparing for those types of thoughts, and just that as a conversation started with Jen. When Noah's this old, how are we gonna do that? And had some fun conversations, so that was a good resource.
Yeah, I love that. Sometimes dreaming about the next phase is helpful, right? To pull you through. Like, it won't always be like this.
Well, I mean, it's also kind of going full circle here. You mentioned, Martin, at the beginning that the 9 months of pregnancy was a season of preparing your heart and God getting you ready for that. And as much work as there is to do when you have an infant, always preparing and getting more wisdom for each next stage is obviously not a bad thing. Like that, I think that's very helpful and insightful to be looking ahead and to be preparing yourself for how you are going to disciple your children moving forward as they get into each stage of their life.
And that might even be like uniquely a part of fatherhood, right? Because like typically, like you're talking about, like the sleep deprivation falls really hard oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes on like the motherhood side of things. So where your mind is like not able to be like thinking about like, what do I do when he puts his hands in the toilet? You're like, I don't care. But that's something you are uniquely like freed up to do. And so I think that's also a cool way of sort of balancing out the way that God is growing and challenging your families.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. And we, like Allison said, you can come find any one of us in the courtyard on a Sunday. We're going to say that Martijn and Steph are, well, more than...
They're both often on the welcome team.
Yes,
so
catch us at the welcome
catch
team
them at the welcome table.
Yeah.
Or handing you a program.
And yeah, we look forward to doing this again with you guys. Thanks for listening, and we hope you have a blessed day.